After season 3A split up Sasha and Anne, Commander Anne brings them back together in one of the most poignant and thoughtful episodes of the entire show. Now, before I gush too much over this episode, I want to emphasize that I don't think it's perfect. I think a few lines are a little clunky, a few jokes don't quite land. I think the show's reliance on 11-minute episodes really hampers its ability to create complex, nuanced stories of real emotional power and pathos that involve the characters we've grown to care about. The interactions between Anne and Sasha can be a little bit repetitive, and I think some of the lines they say to each other could use a little revision, a little polish, a little sparkle to really make them shine as much as they could have. But these are mostly nitpicks. The episode is good. With the exception of Olivia and Yunnan, this might be the best episode of the show since the explosion, the atom bomb that was True Colors. It's an episode that is centered on poignant and tender and intimate interactions between Anne and Sasha, two close friends who clearly care deeply for each other, but know that there is a rift between them and know that the relationship between them has changed, and that the bond will never be as it was when they were little kids, and that they will have to recommit themselves to that bond on their own terms and really decide what about their past friendship is worth keeping and how they are going to go about maintaining this friendship going forward. It's an honest, thoughtful, and surprising episode. The basic concept is genius. It's one of the best ideas for an episode in the whole of the show. Sasha has become the leader of the resistance since the last time we saw her in Turning Point, and she has consistently demonstrated that she is great at the job, which should not be surprising to anyone who has watched Sasha throughout the show. For all her faults, she is never anything less than a strong leader. She is charming, she is charismatic, but she's also committed. She's also determined. She fights for the people she cares about, sincerely. It's no surprise that the people of Wartwood, despite probably having very mixed feelings about her, considering what she did to them back in the whole Toad Tower incident, have become so loyal to her in the face of adversity. Sasha is genuinely very smart, though in a different way than Marcy is. Marcy is book smart. She's very scholarly. She takes that energy to all her nerdy pursuits, but also to studying languages and fixing the infrastructure of Newtopia. Sasha is smart in that she expresses an acute level of awareness of her surroundings and her circumstances. She is great at sensing subtle connections, links, relationships in ways that other people cannot. She's quite introspective, and she's skilled at sensing the consequences and the fallout that action X or action Y will have. She is able to see beyond her current situation and think about the future in a way that's lucid and comprehensive, which is what we mean when we say that someone is thinking 2 or 3 steps ahead, and yet she always remains grounded in her current situation, and she is great at incorporating new information and new ideas into her worldview if the conditions on the ground change. She's creative and imaginative and yet she never relies purely on instinct. She is practical, and she knows how to discipline her creativity and her imagination in order to make it fit the scenarios and the situations in which she finds herself. Based on these characteristics, one should not be that surprised that she has become so beloved in Wardwood, or that she's made herself such a great resistance leader. If Sasha's appeal was nothing but charm and charisma, the citizens of Wardwood would not cling to her as they do. It's not that charm and charisma are worthless. Those are extremely important aspects of being a leader. That magnetism, that ability to make people believe that you have the answers in a way that's almost supernatural and certainly beyond the everyday humdrum way of doing things. She's always thinking of new ideas and new options, sensing new little subtle connections and opportunities. Anne, meanwhile, believes that the best way to cross a bridge is to reference a scene she saw in an animated movie in which a bunch of mice went and formed a bridge of bodies by holding on to each other's arms and legs. Now, scenes like this exaggerate the differences between them. Anne is not entirely without strategic capabilities. She did a lot to engineer the plan in true colors against Sasha, and she even recently orchestrated the plan to break the planters out of the FBI headquarters. But to deny the difference between them would be rather fallacious. Anne is impulsive. Anne is rather sentimental to a fault. She just acts on whatever passions possess her. She has gained more self-control as the show has gone on, but she lacks the clarity of mind and practicality and sheer strategic vision that someone like Sasha has. Sasha is able to ground herself in the personal, immediate circumstances while also thinking about all the opportunities that present themselves and what consequences actions in the present will have. She's not perfect, but she's very good. And the show demonstrates how systematically she's able to think in both Commander Anne and Sprivey. And yet Sasha does not want to lead. She wants to give the leadership role to Anne because Sasha is afraid of her darker tendencies. This is a fascinating idea for an episode. Anne is shocked that she is the one who needs to encourage Sasha to be more confident, needs to encourage Sasha to take up that leadership role that Sasha has the special insight and disciplined strategic capacities for. Anne probably never thought that she would be in this position, and yet she is. She's grown to appreciate Sasha's creativity and cunning and imagination and ability to think beyond the immediate circumstances into what could be in the future. She really is able to respect Sasha more now that she doesn't idolize or villainize Sasha, and Sasha has become much more humble to the point of self-abasement. Sasha is at risk of losing Sasha, losing that brash, buoyant, determined resilience that is a major part of why Anne has always been so enthralled by her since they were little. And though Sasha tries so hard to be very self-abasing and to earnestly request forgiveness from Anne, and rightly so, There is also the case of everything Anne has done to Sasha, which both the fans and Anne herself perhaps forget about at times. Perhaps even Sasha forgets about it. But consider that Anne tried to seriously hurt Sasha when Sasha was not fighting back, and her refusal to take Sasha's advice about Andreas's callous and megalomaniacal plans, however justified it may have been, directly led to Andreas's triumph and Marcy's being stabbed. Anne is very weirded out by what Sasha is doing. She is so overwhelmed by Sasha's refusal to take on that leadership role that she starts becoming suspicious of Sasha and thinking this is just another one of Sasha's manipulative tricks to have Anne be the leader and then fail miserably. And Sasha feels insulted by this claim, considering that the whole reason why she is refraining from being the leader is so she does not use her manipulative tendencies to hurt Anne like she has done in the past. The two of them reconcile. They gain a new level of respect for each other, and they're willing to be close with one another. They recognize the importance of one another. Sasha's strategic mind, her mix of logical insight and passionate creative thinking, does have a function. It does have a real role and a real value, as demonstrated in this episode, and Anne respects that. She has a profound awareness of her circumstances. The Resistance needs someone like that. Anne needs someone like that too. So thank you all for watching. If you liked what you saw today, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Donate to my Patreon if you can, and you want to see more videos like this before anyone else can. What do you think about Anne and Sasha's reunion? I think it's one of the most touching and fascinating and profound scenes in the show. I hope we see more Anne and Sasha scenes in the future. Anyway, tune in soon for my next analysis. It will be coming soon, I promise you that. Thank you all again. Adios, comrades.